following are docs that you're going to need to fill out that are going to be sent to the lender in addition to the other documents that I requested from you previously. You're going to have a RMA, which is request for a loan modification and affidavit, a 4506T, the Dodd-Frank Certificate, and of course a hardship letter, which you're going to be filling out, and I'll go over in another episode how to fill out a hardship letter. You can download these forms at makinghomeaffordable.gov, or you can also get them on our website at robertaldana.com, including P&L worksheets, blank rental agreements, and also this slide presentation on a PDF format at robertaldana.com. We can help you fill these forms out and give you a pre-qualification if you want at no expense. And this presentation, just so you know, an instructional video only applies to owner-occupied properties, but you can also use this video and information for non-owner-occupied homes. It's just pretty tough to get a loan modification for a non-owner-occupied home, but you can still use this information towards trying to obtain one of those type of loan modifications also. So let's get to the documents. Okay, so this is what's called the Making Home Affordable Program Request for Modification and Affidavit. This is the actual loan modification application you're going to be filling out. And again, the previous information you gathered on the previous video is going to give you the information you're going to need to properly fill this out. Obviously, you're going to need your loan ID number. That's why you need your mortgage statements. Your servicer, so if you're Bank of America, EMC, Wells Fargo, whoever it is, you want to put your servicer in here. It's important that you put your loan number and your servicer. I also want to put your full name, the name as it appears on your loan application, okay? Make sure you put your social security number, your date of birth, your home phone number with an area code. And I would personally put my cell phone number on here because if they're trying to get a hold of you, you're not always going to be at home. And, you know, getting them to call you back is like hitting the lottery in many cases. So it'd be kind of cool to have your cell phone number on there. That way, if they need to get a hold of you, they can, bingo, just call you on your cell phone and you can pick it up at any time. Here's the co-borrower information on your right-hand side. So anyone who's also on the loan needs to go on here, your co-borrower, social security number, date of birth, home phone number with area code, and or cell phone number if they want to do that. Now, here's a little area here where it talks about keeping the property versus selling it. If you definitely want to keep the property, say that you want to keep the property, because in many situations, the lenders, what they want to do is they'd rather sell your property. And if you're telling them right now that you'd rather sell the property, but you would consider a loan modification, in many situations, they just say, well, forget it then. We're just going to go ahead and sell it. Now, the cool thing about these applications, I'm going to tell you right now, is these particular ones that you're going to download off my website at robertaldana.com or makinghomeaffordable.gov, either one of those. The great thing is you can actually enter information, type it from your computer so it comes out nice and clean, you know. So if you want to enter your particular name and phone number or information on here, you can actually do that with your computer instead of handwriting it. It just looks a lot cleaner. But, you know, for the purpose of just doing this presentation, I'm just going to kind of show you and go through this. I'm not going to fill each one of them out because it'll take us quite a while to do, you know, the whole entire one. But you want to make sure you keep the property, and you want to make sure if it's your primary residence, you got to put your primary residence. And if it is owner-occupied, of course, most of the time, if it's your primary residence is owner-occupied, I don't understand why they have both of these questions. They kind of go back and forth. They both mean pretty much the same thing, but whatever, that's cool. Mailing address, you want to put your mailing address. If you have, for example, a property that has a P.O. box, if you live in an area that they don't have addresses and they all go to a P.O. box, make sure you put that on there. However, if your property and the mailing address are two different things, you definitely need to make sure that you put your property address on here, okay? So let's say you have a P.O. box, like my mom, for example. She lives in an area where she lives up in the foothills, and she doesn't have an actual address. She has a P.O. box. This is where she would put her P.O. box, and right below would be the actual address information that she would need. Email address is kind of cool. I think it's a good idea to put your email address in case they need to get a hold of you. It's really important for them to be able to catch you, you know, whenever they need to. And many times they may have to email you some information. Now, here's some information I think is super important. Is the property listed for sale? Hopefully it's not, because if it is, again, they're going to probably ask you to cancel that listing, or they may not lean towards a mod. It may lean more towards doing a short sale with you. So if your property is for sale or not for sale, you click no on here. Have you received the property? No. And what you do need to do is, a lot of times people think that just because it doesn't apply, they don't have to check it. And these particular boxes here, you need to check them, okay? Or say doesn't apply. So obviously, date of offer, just put NA, amount of offer, NA, NA, NA. For sale by owner, if you're selling it yourself, or if you're not, just click no on here. Who pays the real estate property taxes on the property? If you do, you click here. If they're current, you just put the information whether they're current or no. I'm just going to put no because a lot of people who miss their mortgage payments aren't current with their tax payments. Have you contacted a credit agency for help like HUD or something like some organization like that? You put that in here. If it's no, you just put NA. If it's yes, you put the agency that you contacted, the counselor's name, and all that information here. Who pays the hazard insurance premium for your property? If you do or the lender does, you have to put this information. Remember what I was talking about earlier. Your insurance policy is going to give you information for you to fill that in here. They actually want the name of an insurance company and the telephone number of the people that they can contact at your insurance agency. Have you filed for bankruptcy? You put that in here. If you have filed for bankruptcy, you need to have a discharge date, filing date, and actual, has your bankruptcy been discharged? Yes, the case number, you can need all that information here. If you file for bankruptcy and you're in the middle of a bankruptcy, a loan modification is still possible. What the lender's going to need to do, though, however, if you've done a bankruptcy, is they're going to need authorization from the courts or from your attorney, giving them authorization to negotiate a loan modification with you, okay? So it's real important. If you did do a bankruptcy or BK, you do want to be upfront with it because they're going to pull your credit report, okay? So none of this stuff that you're putting on here is not going to be verified. It is, okay? So you'll show it on there. Make sure you fill this information out accurately. Here again is, remember what I was telling you earlier, where you need to get your mortgage statements for all the lenders that you have. Here's where you're going to put your lien holder, your balance, lien holder, B of A. So I'm just going to say B of A right now. B of A. And balance is, 99,000, whatever the case is, contact number, you put their phone number here, and the loan number here, because they're going to need that information. So this is, again, just confirming the information and documentation that I requested earlier. And here, the hardship affidavit. Now, this is a pretty minor and basic hardship affidavit. This is where you're showing why you're having a hardship. I'm going to tell you that you should also write a letter that explains your hardship because this is really basic. You just got to put in here, what happened? Why do you need help now? Maybe your income came down, okay? Maybe your expenses have increased or your monthly day payments are excessive. There's various different reasons why you are needing assistance, but you want to write a short information on here as to why you need some help with your mortgage. And again, do the hardship letter as I stated in the previous video, previous episode. Do your hardship letter, a couple paragraphs, just explaining what the reason is why you need assistance. So make sure all this stuff is filled out correctly and completely. So let's go to page 2 here. Here's where a lot of people make a big mistake and they forget to put the number of people in household. You have to put the number of people in household, okay? Because that's going to be coming back to you as a incomplete application. And most people, when I've seen this, I can't believe how many people miss this particular part. And I guess it's just the way it looks. It's kind of hard to see up in the top right-hand corner. So here's your monthly gross wages that you're going to be putting how much money you earn. And again, what I said earlier, remember what I said, gross wages, not net income. Put your gross wages in here, any overtime, if you're receiving child support or Social Security income. If you work on your own, you want to put that information also here, Social Security, other income and so forth, tips, commissions, whatever the case is. Okay, self-employment income. I'm sorry. Here's the self-employment income information you put in here. And you just kind of add all this stuff here, right? Here's your gross income. Here's where you put on this particular area what your mortgage payment is on your first. If you have a second, your insurance. That's why you need that policy because you'll divide that by 12, whatever your yearly premium is. Same thing with your property taxes. You're going to divide that by 12. Credit cards, what they want is your minimum payments on all your credit cards. Again, remember, they're going to pull your credit report. So if you think that by not saying it on here, it'll help you, it's not, because they're going to pull your credit report and then there's going to be a discrepancy and then you're going to be in a little standstill there, okay? Rental expenses, if you have other properties that that you have or you own, this is where you're going to put some of the information. HOA, condo association fees right here, car payments. This particular other area is where I've usually put like gas, food, utilities, and so forth. So add all that stuff up and then put that in here. Just put gas, food, utilities, and incidentals, and you can put that information in here. Your checking account in this particular area is where you're going to enter that. Also, your savings account is if you have a savings account, CDs, stocks and bonds, other cash on hand, you need to put all that stuff in here. And if you have other properties, you need to put the value of the properties that you have on the other rental properties that you may have. And if you have any other assets, you want to put that on here. Now, remember what I said earlier, your 401k, pension funds, annuities, and so forth. You don't need to add that stuff in here, but they're talking about cash in hand, checking accounts, and so forth. Money that's liquid that you could use at pretty much any time, okay? Now, you make make sure that you fill out all this information and you add up all the figures correctly. And, try not to skip a space. If there's no space in there, in these particular areas, you don't have to put NA on these, but on the previous page you do on some of those boxes in there. But make sure that you go through every single one of them. Now, I don't know why they ask you for whether you're Hispanic or Latino or Asian American. I don't think it really matters. I think it's more of a consensus or a census. I'm sorry, census type of a thing, or they're just trying to get some stats and figures as to who is in default. Hey, I got news for you, okay? The whole United States is default right now, and we're having issues with everyone, with every pretty much race, every price range, every neighborhood. Everyone's having issues. We're all in this together. So, but you're welcome to put this information in here if you want. If you don't have to. And just put that you don't wish to furnish information, but do not leave things blank, okay? Don't leave things blank. That's page 2. Page 3 is pretty simple, just pretty much acknowledging that you're telling them all the truth and nothing but the truth. You can read through this whole thing here, and then you're just going to sign here, and then you're going to date it and have the co-borrower sign and date it also. So that's the RMA, the request for loan modification. It's not that difficult, okay, to figure out, but you do want to make sure that you enter all that information completely. And if you recall all the documentation that I requested from you previously, it's going to help you fill those out. Is it or is it not? Absolutely, it's going to. So let's go on now to the 4506T. Okay, so this is what's called a 4506T. This is a request for a transcript of tax return. This is where I was talking about previously, where the lender's going to request from the IRS copies of or transcripts of your tax returns over the past couple of years. You want to make sure you fill this out completely and correctly. I have seen certain situations where a lender has not asked for this when they're doing the loan modification request, but I guarantee you they're going to need it, so you might as well do it now, because a lot of these lenders, as I've told you before, and if you've listened to my blogs, the right hand does not know what the left hand is doing, and they actually forget that they're going to need a 4506T. Can you believe that? Believe it. So put your name on here. Your information is here. Put your name, your social security number accurately. Put your joint spouse information on here. Now, here's where a lot of people don't understand this. If you have a cosigner and that cosigner is not your wife, or you don't do your taxes together, then this is really for each person on the actual tax return. So if you and your wife are doing tax returns together and you're on the mortgage, you both need to fill this out. If you and your wife are doing your tax returns, but you're both not on the mortgage, you're still going to need to fill this out, because if your wife is on a tax return, even though she's not on the mortgage, she's going to need to give authorization for the lender to pull her tax transcripts, because she's going to be on there just as well as you are. So you put her name or his name, phone number, I'm sorry, not phone number, social security number on here, the current name, address, previous address if it was a previous address that you lived in prior to this. You also, this particular area, item number 6, a lot of people forget about this, and this is really important. What type of a tax return it is, whether it's a 1040, 1065, 1120, etc. You want to talk to your accountant, and he'll tell you or she'll tell you how to fill this particular out properly. Record of account, I usually have checked in item number 6C, because it gives them access to get your tax returns over the past 3 years if they need to. And usually they're only going to ask for 1 or 2 years. And item number 9, you want to put what years, 2009 and 2010. That's what I usually do past couple of years in case they need it, because many times they're going to. And here's where you're going to be signing and your spouse is going to be signing. If you're co-signers and you're not married and you file separate tax returns, each one of you is going to have to fill out their own 4506T. So that's the explanation of the 45606T. Page 2 just kind of gives you some information on there, but it's pretty basic and pretty simple. Shouldn't be too tough for you to be able to figure out. Okay, so this is the Dodd-Frank Certificate. What it basically states is it's a disclosure that you're giving to the lender that says that you haven't been convicted within the past 10 years of felony, larceny, theft, fraud, or forgery, money laundering, or tax evasion. I think because of what's happened over the years, and a lot of people who bought homes that probably didn't tell the truth on their loans, and I'm not going to start pointing fingers of who did or who didn't, that's irrelevant, but they want to make sure that you haven't been convicted of any fraud or anything. I don't know if you were convicted of fraud, if they're still going to give you a loan modification or not. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that they're going to want you to provide this. And if you have, then that's something you're going to have to probably disclose to them. So here's this form where on page 3, really the only part that you're going to have to fill out on the Dodd-Frank certificate is page 3. That's where you're going to check in here that you have or haven't been convicted of any past 10 years of any felony, larceny, theft, fraud, forgery, money laundering, or tax evasion. You're going to put your signature on here, of course, and the date, and your co-borrower, if they're actually on the loan also, they need to put their information on here. But this definitely has to go with pretty much every loan modification request. And again, this is another one of those forms where the lender just does not ask for them in many situations. I don't know why they don't do that. It's crazy. But this is definitely a form that all lenders are going to need at some point. So you might as well be one step ahead of the game and fill this one out. Again, you can get this form as well as the other forms on our website at robertaldana.com, or you can also get them at makinghomeaffordable.gov.